Continuous integration. Yes. The most important and the most awaited lecture that we're going to discuss about right now is on continuous integration, right? So, continuous integration is basically a process which, whenever a developer performs a check-in on its code, right, and he check into the shared repository, right, the whole project is automatically built and tested in order to find the integration issues, right? Now, you might be wondering why a continuous integration process is required for it. I mean, this can be done manually as well, as in whenever a developer checks in the code goes to a centralized repository, and then tester check out that build, and he can perform testing on that particular build, right? So if if tester has to do all the testing at the initial phase, right, let's say the tester has to be synced up with the developer. Whenever developer checks in the code, at the same time a tester has to be present over there to test that particular build. Let's say we have a centralized repository which is at some different location, and our developers are sitting at some different location. Even the testers are not in touch with developers. They are sitting in some different remote location. Let's say developers are in US and testers are in India, right? So now if you talk about the current software development process, as soon as a developer builds a module, he checks in the code, and the code goes to the centralized repository. Now, at the same point of time, when he is integrating two modules, he wants that to check whether the build is stable or not. Now he will actually going to do the unit testing of the code at his end, but the integration testing will be done either by the testing team, right, or there should be a team which will actually going to perform the whole integration test, and then the final build is deployed onto the staging server or onto the production server, right? So if we do this thing manually, then we need to wait for the next testing team to come and test the entire build, then give a go ahead, and then developer if the build is successful, then they're gonna give a go ahead. If the build is not successful, then again developer will fix the issues that are there in the current build, and then he again checks in the code, and then he'll again wait for the testing team to get it tested, right? So in order to automate the entire process, the continuous integration comes into the picture, right? So continuous integration system reveals the integration issues at very early stage, right? So let's say if I gonna take an example how the entire CI continuous integration system works. Let's say as a developer, I checks in the code to a local repository. So I might be using Git for doing all my check-ins to the local repositories. Once all the check-ins are done, I'll finally move that particular build to the centralized repository. It could be a GitHub repository, right? It is actually a remote repository, so where all the developers at the end of the day will gonna check in their code, push their code to the remote repository, right? And then there is a CI server which is actually tracking the remote repository. Let's say if there are any changes, any new code added, or any changes or modification made to the existing code, then that CI server will actually gonna perform the compilation of that code, perform the unit testing of the code, execute the regression testing from that code, and then it will gonna publish the reports, right? Basically, compiling, unit testing, regression is not a task of a configuration, the CI system, right? It's not the task of continuous integration system. These tasks will be performed by your build automation tools itself, that is Maven, so Maven or Ant, that will be integrated with the continuous integration system to perform this whole task as an automated task, right? So the benefits of using a continuous integration system is that as a whole project, it continuously integrates the whole project, thereby eliminating the integration phase. So we need not to wait for entire build to be integrated and then we need to test it, right? So the issues are catched at a very early stage. A very early stage developer comes to know whether the build is stable or not, and it also reduces the time for debugging as the issues are caught at the very early stage, and it also helps the product to deliver more rapidly, right? So these are some of the benefits of the continuous integration system, and the CI that we are going to talk about in this lecture is Jenkins. There are many other continuous integration tools available in the market. One is Jenkins and Hudson, TeamCity, Team Foundation Server, right? There are many CI tools available, in which like most popular is Jenkins, and Jenkins is a free continuous integration tool which can be configured and used very easily, right? So we're going to talk about Jenkins in this module. So Jenkins is an open source continuous integration tool, or you can say server, which is used to automatically build the whole project whenever it's needed, right? So Jenkins was originally created as Hudson. So earlier Jenkins was known as Hudson, but after the dispute with Oracle, this project is separated by the open source community and they named it as Jenkins, right? So this is about the brief history of Jenkins, how Jenkins was actually originated, right? Now we're gonna see a couple of steps that is involved in installing and configuring Jenkins. In order to configure Jenkins, I'll go to Google and type download Jenkins, right? This is the website of Jenkins, jenkinsci.org. So I'll go to this particular website and I'll download it based on my operating system. I'm on Windows at the moment, so I'll be downloading this latest and the greatest one, right? Once I download this, it will gonna come like this. I've already downloaded. It will gonna give me a var file, and a var file will look something like this, right? Now the next step is to start this var file as in like we have started like we have seen how to start a jar file, right? So same way we're gonna do it with this var file as well. So I'll go to this particular location and I'll open up CMD and I'll go to CD softwares, and the next command that I'm gonna type java-jar and I'll give the name jenkins.var. I'll press enter and it will actually gonna start the Jenkins services on my machine, on my local machine, right? So let's wait for a few seconds and let the Jenkins comes up successfully. Yes, the process has been started. So what I'm gonna do, I'll type over here localhost 8080. By default, Jenkins will gonna start on the localhost 8080, right? So we're gonna wait for a few seconds till the time it is completely up and running. Let's see. Still loading all the jobs, all plugins. There are many things that we need to configure in this Jenkins. So let it open and then we're gonna take a look at it. So in the initial, it will gonna take some time to launch the Jenkins. So now it is fully up and running. So, but over here you can see, please wait while. All right. So this is your Jenkins. Initially, you're not gonna find anything over here like this project. I have this project. I'll just delete the project, and you're gonna see a blank place over here. This is the very first look of your Jenkins. Right now you can do couple of things in order to configure the Jenkins. What you need to do, the very first thing, you're gonna go to this link, that is manage Jenkins. Right, couple of plugins that you would be needing in order to perform the continuous integration task. Right, so the very first thing, you will go inside this manage plugins links. Right, and here you're gonna find all the available plugins that can be integrated. There are hundreds of plugins of different service providers that are available over here. We might not be needing many of them. We will be needing plugins based on our requirement. Right, let's say I have already chosen some of the plugins that I require. I require plugins mainly for GitHub. Right, so I have already configured the plugins. If you see the installed plugins on my machine, so I have, see, Ant and Maven plugins, you need not to install it manually. They'll actually gonna come along with Jenkins itself. Right, they are already installed on your Jenkins. The only plugin that you need to install is, one is your Git plugin and the Git client plugin. This is one of the plugin that you need to configure. Right, and you can configure this CVS plugin as well. Right, so this is the one that you need to configure, and rest Maven is already configured with Jenkins. Okay, maybe yeah, these are the two that I have configured. You can see the uninstall option over here, and rest, where you don't see any uninstall option, these plugins are already configured. So the CVS is also configured. You need not to configure this as well. Right, so once you install it, this can be installed by going on available, and you can search for the plugin over here. You can filter it. You can say Git or GitHub plugin, like the plugin that I have already selected. Just click on that, and it will give you an option, install without start or download now and install after a restart. You can choose any of these options, and you can get this plugin installed on Jenkins. Right, once these are installed, it will show inside the installed list. Right, now go back to manage Jenkins again. Right, and click on configure system. This is one-time setup that you need to do in order to configure Jenkins. Right, now very first thing, it will gonna create a home directory at this location. This is by default C drive user Selenium. You'll find .jenkins folder over here. Right, now the next thing, you need to configure your JDK. Right, JDK as in Java Development Toolkit. Right, so click on this and give the path of your Java home, like I have already given it. Right, so wherever you have installed your Java, right, just give the JDK folder over here, and give any name to this JDK, like I have given JDK 1.6. Right, this is the very first thing you need to do. Next is to like I'll be integrating GitHub and Maven with the Jenkins. Right, so I'll be using Git over here. There are other version control systems as well available, like SVN is available. There are other as well available. You can configure them as well, but right now I'm going to work on Git, so I'll be adding a Git path to the Git executable over here. So Git executable, when you have installed Git, it has actually created a exe file inside your program files. You're gonna find Git over here, and then inside the bin we're gonna find get.exe file over here, somewhere over here, right? So this is the path that you need to give over here, right? And name you can give any, again you can give any name to this file, right? Then aunt is configured by default. You need not to configure it. You can add that environment variable, and again yeah, you need to give the path of the aunt as well, but we are not going to use aunt over here right now, right? So I'll just delete it for the time being. And then Maven installation, you need to give the path where you have downloaded your Maven. I have downloaded inside C drive softwares, and then Apache Maven. This is my Maven. So I'll give the path up till Apache Maven, and then okay, I'm not sure how I have given it. Okay, I might have two Apache Mavens over here. Okay, so I'm using this one, so I have given the path up till over here. This is my Maven home path, right? So that I have also configured in my environment variables. This is the one that you need to provide over here, right? So this will be picked up automatically, your Maven repository that is being created on the .m2 folder. This you can find in C drive users, and this is the .m2 folder where all your Maven repository exists. So this is the path that's been picked automatically, right? And Jenkins location, it is always started on localhost 8080. If you configure it on a separate server on a separate machine, then you can provide some host name as well, right, instead of localhost. So that also you can do, right? And then this is your CVS password. Password is the get password you need to provide over here for authentication, right, when you are checking in and checking out the code. So Jenkins will be communicating with your GitHub, so you need to provide the same password that you have provided onto your GitHub, right? Now these are one of the like one-time setup that you need to do, right? Rest things you can remain it as it is and apply save, click on save. All these changes will be saved, right? And you have actually done all the configuration that is required for this Jenkins, right? Now next step is to create a new job, a new continuous integration job. So you will directly gonna click on create new job, and will build a freestyle software project. You can choose any of these. Let's say you're building a Maven project, you're doing a when you have multiple projects, you want to manage them, you can use this as well, right? But here we're going to use a freestyle software project. So I can give any name to this project. Let's say I give it a name as what name should we give? We have created a project for Git. I can use the same project, so it is there